Hi guys, this is the So Bet On Yourself podcast. I'm Monica.
And I'm Diana.
From sharing our best advice on navigating life as first gen to career goals, relationships, and healing your inner child.
This podcast is a space for us to grow and become the best versions of ourselves together. So grab yourself a cafecito and join us on this episode.
Hi guys, welcome to part 2. It's my time to interview Diana, which I'm really excited to interview her because she's just an amazing girl. She brings peace to my life. You should always have that one friend that brings peace and comfortability to your life. So, yes,
I can say the same. I'm excited / nervous.
This is gonna be fun. The 3 words to describe you are you ready? Intelligent, empathetic, and adventurous.
That's a compliment to me because I feel like sometimes it's hard for me to be.
Really?
Yeah, so it's like a compliment that you think that of me because I feel like in my head I'm like a little scaredy cat. So
are you? I don't think so. You're the one of my friends that travels the most and is always seeking adventure.
Oh, I love that.
So to break the ice, I'm going to ask her a couple of fun questions. What is your sign, and do you believe you are truthfully your sign, or you don't know anything about your sign? Tell me.
I don't know much about astrology, but I do know the basics of being a Cancer, which apparently we cry a lot, which I don't think is fair because...
Do you cry a lot?
No, I'm not a crier. I'm really not. Like, I'm very empathetic, but I'm not a crier person. Like, it takes a lot for me to cry. Like, it has to be building up for a while. Every time I see, like, some kind of meme about astrology and it comes to the Cancer, they're always in their feels and they're always crying.
You're like, that's not me.
Oh, like, that's not fair. It's funny because my boyfriend's also a Cancer, so we're both apparently 2 very emotional beings. And
that's crazy because I don't see that at all.
Yeah.
So tell me, what are you up to lately? Like your favorite shows, artists?
My favorite show of all time is The Office / Friends, which I know I'm kind of basic, but
no, I love The Office.
I know, I always go back to those. I'd love to get into more adventurous, like thrilling shows, but my anxiety just can't handle it, so I always retreat to the Friends and The Office because it's just
so do you put them as background music, or do you actually watch every episode?
I can't remember the last time I actually sat down and like fully watched something and paid attention to it. Every time I watch TV, it's just honestly in the background.
Yeah, okay, so if you don't have a favorite TV show, I know you have some favorite hobbies, like singing.
No. I feel like music has been like my first love, so I just love like playing guitar, playing piano.
And then you write songs too.
That's actually something that I have done literally my whole life, but I've been so shy about it. I actually just found a photo of me performing when I was like literally like 7 years old at a church. I've literally been writing my whole life for real, and my guitar teacher was like, you should perform this. And I cannot believe 7-year-old me did. 7-year-old me was much braver because like now it could never be me. But I'm good.
But it is. I've seen your TikTok. You just started doing that.
I did.
Right? Because I didn't know that you played the guitar. I didn't know that you did piano.
I'm so shy about it. Like, I really am. I don't even show Tyler, like, my stuff sometimes. I don't know. I'm just so reserved with it. I actually just had a conversation with my dad about this because I told him I've literally have, like, piles of writing that I have never done anything with. And he was like, if some of your favorite artists, like, never shared any of their stuff.
Oh, facts.
Like, what you'd be missing out if you never heard, like, what they created.
Oh, wow.
And do it because you love it. And I was like, you know what, I just need to get over it. Like, people, like, whether they hate it or love it.
Oh, you're starting strong over here. Yeah, let's get started with getting to know you a little more from the beginning. So I know you had mentioned in the previous episode that you moved to Texas at the age of 4. How was the transition, not only for you, but for your parents?
It's funny because I don't remember a lot, but I do remember the drive here felt forever because we drove from Miami to Dallas. It felt like a different world because we came here in the winter, and Miami is just so filled with sunshine.
The beach.
Yeah. The beach, like so much beauty in nature. And then we came to Texas in the winter and the trees were dead. And so I remember even as a child, it was a hard transition, but I think even especially for my parents because they were so used to having a Spanish community, a Latin community, everyone spoke Spanish.
Right.
My mom didn't really have to learn English. My dad did for work. For her coming here, where people, you know, there's some people that speak Spanish, but not everyone speaks Spanish like they do in Miami. It was a hard transition for sure.
She didn't have any friends or family, did she?
No, I did not grow up with extended family because my parents were immigrants, so I don't have any like uncles and stuff like that that are here. So that I bet that was also very hard for them because they were literally all on their own when they came from Miami to Texas.
Were there any defining moments from your childhood that affected you positively and negatively?
So I'll start with the negative one first. So when we moved here from Miami to Dallas, we settled in an area that did have more Spanish speaking community. However, I hopped around a lot. So I moved every single year up until I was 9 years old. So I think I was in 4th or 5th grade, I think. That kind of made it hard to have stable friends and make friends. And that I feel like I'm already naturally an introvert, but it really made me an introvert.
You even more. How many times did you move in your childhood in total?
Every year. Like, so from 5 to maybe...
Like, how many schools did you go to?
I wasn't in a school every grade. Up until 5th grade, I think. 5th or 4th grade, yeah.
Every single grade you were at a new school?
Yes. 6 years, I think.
Not stable.
Not stable. Amazing.
No, that's insane.
I remember it was hard to make friends because I knew I was going to leave soon. So it was like, what's the point?
Really?
Yeah, because I remember, like, I knew what was coming in a way.
Why were you guys moving a lot, if I can ask?
Because my parents also actually had me very young. They had me at 22 years old. So my dad was kickstarting his career. He just kept getting, like, better opportunities. He just kept being more established. So it was a good thing. But for me, as a child, all you think about is friends and school. So
it was a good thing, but not for your mental stability.
Yeah. The one thing that affected me as a child was caring about what people think, because when I moved so much, I didn't have those stable relationships growing up. So I was always trying to fit in because I was always the new kid. So what really hit me was when I finally settled into a place, that place was not diverse. So there was no Spanish speaking people, and I had to learn English to stay afloat in school within a year.
Was Spanish your first language?
Spanish was my first language, yeah. So when we moved here, I did have the ability to go to Spanish-speaking schools.
Okay.
So I didn't feel the need to learn English, really.
Oh, so you were an ESL kid too?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like I had
ESL is translated as English is your second language.
I feel like I had to be then, because I didn't learn English until I was 9.
Okay.
Like 8 or 9, yeah. Yeah, so that came with a lot of bullying. I became scared to speak because I was scared that people would, like, just make fun of my accent, how I pronounce stuff. So I know we talked about you, and I asked you, like, did that affect you? And you were like, nah.
I still talk to you.
I know, and I love that.
In contrast to me, you...
Complete opposite.
In contrast to me,
speak.
you did not speak, and you almost were in a bubble, right?
I absolutely was in a bubble.
You protected yourself.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That's why it was so hard for me to make friends. A, the moving, B, the language barrier that there was. So I feel like that affected me a lot because I cared so much what people thought, and I always wanted to fit in, and I always wanted to people please. But the positive side of my upbringing, the positive side of everything is that I learned to be very independent, and I learned to be very creative. Lacking those friendships, I was my own entertainment. So I
was about to say that you have to entertain yourself. An avenue to...
Yeah, and plus my closest sibling was like 5 years younger than me. So...
Story of my life, bro. I have no friends, nor siblings to live.
Yeah, so...
And then yours, how many siblings do you have?
I have 4.
And they're boys, right?
They're all boys.
Exactly. It's basically like you don't have... anyone to talk to.
You're like on your own little island.
They're like weirdos.
Exactly. But yeah, I feel like I learned to be very independent and very creative.
Yeah.
And I leaned on hobbies, so like that's when I started playing guitar and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And writing and all that stuff. So good stuff comes out of the bad.
Right, of course, yeah. So since we are a first-gen podcast, I have to ask, how was your relationship with your parents growing up as a first-gen?
I feel like...
Do you think it was different from somebody that's not a first-gen?
Okay, so childhood-wise, I feel like I wouldn't be able to tell a difference. However, as a teenager, different story. Like I talked about, it was already hard for me to make friends, so that was kind of where things got shaky with me and my parents' relationship, because they were so strict. Like, I generally feel like I do not have any memories as a teenager because I was barely allowed to do anything.
Really?
Yes, they were so strict. I think it was because I was their firstborn, A, and B, I was their
Give
only
me an
daughter.
example.
I had a tracker.
A tracker?
I couldn't take over. I had a tracker on my phone or my car? My phone.
On your phone?
I randomly got my phone checked.
Randomly?
Randomly.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I mean, I get the sleeping over. That's like a Hispanic Latino thing. Like,
okay.
I feel like Latinos don't like anybody sleeping over.
Like I said,
couldn't even sleep at my cousin's house.
Really? Yeah.
I would, but I had to like, please. You know, we had to like give a show. But I can see how overprotective they were because that's a thing with Latino parents in general.
Yeah. See, that's another thing that like comes into play because I didn't have Latino friends. Like I grew up with basically there was no diversity. Yeah. So all my friends were white with white parents, and so
they be spending the night weekly.
Yeah. I remember there was times that they like wouldn't come home for days.
Oh, girl!
And I'm like,
in what world?
Could never be me. I had to do like 10 chores before I got to leave the house for a few hours. Like I had to like the dishes, the
Mexican thing to do. You have to like clean everything. You have to like earn your happiness.
It has to be to a T.
That you have to earn your happiness.
I remember I would sweep the floor so mad. No, I would be so passive aggressive. Like I just sweep. I remember like I would fight with my mom. Like I would get so mad because like every time I asked for something, I knew I had a list. I had a list, like a Christmas list of chores to do.
That's a common thing in the Latino community.
I know, isn't it?
In the
so
Mexican
funny.
household and stuff like that. I didn't get to experience that.
Really?
No.
Oh,
but I never really slept. I was not allowed to sleep over. I didn't have to clean. I didn't have to do that. But I know one of my best friends had to clean the dishes, clean everything. Mm-hmm. She had to earn her fun.
I had to earn it, yeah.
That's crazy.
I had to work before I had fun.
So you grew up different. You grew up where it was mostly white, staying over God knows when they will come home.
The freedom that they had was something I could only dream of. Yeah, it was completely different worlds, black and white.
So do you think they were strict because you were a girl and they were firstborn?
Absolutely, but I also think it's how they grew up as well. Because I think also the culture that they grew up in, like sleepovers weren't like necessarily like a thing, and it was.
And you were the oldest daughter, so they always wanted to protect you in any way.
And then it's really funny because now my little brother is a completely different story.
Oh, it's always completely different story, especially because they're men too.
I know.
How do you think it affected you, like being the oldest daughter of immigrant parents, as a child and as an adult?
I think more than anything, it really taught me to take care of myself in ways that maybe, I guess, I don't want to say I had to grow up fast, but anyway, maybe that is a good way to say it, because I remember like I even see it like on social media how like adults that they're like, oh, I have to make my own doctor's appointments, like, oh, I have to make my own laundry, like do my own food. I was like, I've been doing that, like you know what I mean, like I've done that. Like that transition from being a child to adulthood was so easy for me because I was already doing all those things. Like I was already like taking care of myself in those ways. Like I don't want to say like, oh, my parents like neglected me, because no, like they were literally the best parents I could ever ask for. But naturally, like, you know, like as an older sister, as the firstborn, like you just tend to do things or tend to grow up faster. That's just how the cards play.
That's just how it is, right?
Yeah.
So, even if you're not first gen.
Yes.
It's just being an older daughter.
Yeah, absolutely.
How has being a first gen Latina affected you growing up, even as an adult?
I feel like it plays out into every single aspect of my life as an adult, and that is perspective. So perspective of if you put in the work, it's gonna show. I grew up with a father that did everything he could to provide for his family, and I saw him work late nights. I saw him just be the best example of wanting something and going after it, and that just was instilled in me to always do your best and to always go after what you want regardless of what obstacles might be in the way, because he had a lot of obstacles, and I'm sure a lot of first gen children can relate to that. You see your parents having to go through stuff that other friends' parents don't necessarily have to go through.
From the ground up.
Building literally everything from the ground up. And I know you mentioned in the previous episode that when you first came here, you lived in a garage. It's so crazy how you feel so isolated in your experiences, but yet your experiences can be so connected, because I don't really have memory of this, but we also came and we lived in a room, basically, like
just one room.
Just lived in a room, yeah.
You start from the bottom.
Literally. So that's something that, yeah, I would say has affected me in a positive way, because I just have a different perspective that, if you want something, you can get it. Just work for it. So something I'm grateful for as being a first gen.
Okay.
Having that perspective.
Yeah. So we're moving on to career. So you moved from Miami to Texas at the age of 4. You went to different schools every single year. And because of that, you became a little bit more isolated and just scared to truly be yourself. But that ended up giving you an outlet of music and writing and just an avenue where you were able to express yourself. As a first gen Latina oldest daughter, to me it sounds like your parents taught you structure and discipline at a very early age. But I want to know how it affected you mentally now as an adult. Because what I'm hearing is that you were able to find an avenue to write songs and be you. But I want to dive more into, if any first gen that is listening, how were you able to be you in a successful way mentally, how you felt, and how you overcame those feelings?
Yeah. So I think it took a lot of self-reflection and self-growth to overcome kind of those, I don't want to say obstacles, but just, yeah, when you're first gen, sometimes, like we say, like sometimes you deal with stuff that maybe other people don't. For me, I know everyone's story is different, but for me it came with people pleasing, like worrying about other people's thoughts and judgments and stuff. And so as an adult, I feel like that's something that I really worked on.
Reversing and not doing that, like people pleasing.
Absolutely, yeah. Like in high school, like all I cared about was whether people liked me or not. Like I was just always so concerned about that. And once I graduated, I was like, why did I spend so much time trying to please people that I will probably never see again, quite literally. And I worked on finding out what I love, like what my passions are, what my goals are, like my goals, not like society's goals, what success meant for me, not society's definition of success. Just like all that reflection, I feel like brought confidence and brought more self-discovery, therefore self-growth, because I feel like I was living for everyone else's approval, and I needed to focus on whether I even approved of myself first. So I feel like that is how I got to where I am. I'm like now, like I would say, a lot more confident in who I am and a lot more dedicated to what I love, and not letting all the other noise get in the way of all that. So my biggest advice is to someone that, is trying to figure all that out.
Or just even fit in.
And just try. Yeah, absolutely.
You don't have to fit in, right?
It's so hard, like when you're young, because you feel like you're trying to always fit in and please other people and like look good in other people's eyes. I would just say reflect, like look inward first. Like who are you really? Like what is it that you love? What is it that you enjoy? What brings you happiness? What are your goals? What do you define as success?
One last question.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious. Me and you had a different childhood and a different experience. You grew up with white people around you. You grew up Latina in a white school.
Yes.
Did you ever experience racism growing up? And can you give me an example of an experience?
Oh my gosh, the trauma. Yeah, I did.
This is good advice for Latinas that grow up with no other Latinas.
Yeah, no. I feel like at first it was very tough and very isolating. There was one time where, oh God, it sucks to say this, but she was actually my friend. She would say that other people would refer me as a beaner, but I could tell that no one actually told her that, and if they did, why were they comfortable telling her that? You know what I mean? Like, she was obviously in that conversation, if that was the case. But she'd always try to, like, emphasize the fact that I was not like everyone else, that I didn't look like everyone else, and that was very isolating because it was like my friend. This was in middle school. Yeah, my friend. I don't want to say like this is necessarily racism, but when I spoke, I it was really hard to speak because I felt like any moment I was gonna say something wrong in English, like not pronounce something right.
Story mode.
So I was like so scared. So I would like always be made fun of, just kind of like make me look and sound stupid.
Which you didn't even want to raise your hand, even if you knew the answer, right?
Forget about raising your hand at school.
Even if you knew the answer.
Yeah, forget about that. Like, it could never be me. Like, no, I never did. So if you're struggling with that, I just want you to know if you can speak two languages, you're automatically, I'm sorry, but you're automatically way smarter. Like, if you can speak two languages and you're getting made fun of by people that can only speak one, they have no say. Period. They have no say. So just don't listen. Just don't.
And a lot of it comes from ignorance.
Yeah.
How old were you?
I was only like 12.
Okay,
school. Yeah. Kids are.
And then a lot of it, they see it from home.
Oh, for sure. I mean, where else do you learn it?
I bet that hurt. I'm sure.
Oh yeah. I feel like as I got older, it hurt a little bit less because you kind of develop thick skin. Mm-hmm. But I do recall one time that shocked me because I feel like it kind of stopped a little. Like when you got older, like I guess people realize like it's not cool to make fun of other people.
Right, and then you have the same friends and they get to actually know you for who you are, not the skin color.
Yeah. There's a time that it's just stopped.
Okay, good.
But I remember I worked at a bank and I was like 19, I think. And also my friend, it was a bank, so they asked for personal information. They asked for my parents' social security. And she was like, do they even have one? Dude, so I literally called her my best friend.
That is not a best friend.
I remember I got so taken back. I was like, I'm sorry. Like,
I'm shook. None of your business.
Yeah. And I was like, actually, they do. Like, what do you... I'm sorry, but...
That is so
unnecessary.
Stereotyping someone. Even if they don't, even if they do, who the fuck are you?
The one thing I wish I would have done better younger is stand up for myself better. You know what I mean? Like, just put people in their place, because that's something I have no problem doing now. But back then, I was just, like, scared. I was like, oh, I don't want to be mean. I don't want to, like... No. If they're going to be mean, fight back, because, like, what the heck?
Yeah. Wow.
But, yeah, I feel like that's the last time that, like, I was really taken back by someone, like, directly.
That's a different experience than I had. I didn't really have to deal with a lot of like that.
Yeah.
That's in my trauma list. I'm sure I had to deal with it. I'm sure there was something.
But it didn't make the list.
It did not make the trauma list. But it did on her. So that's that's how we're different but similar, and that's the first gen experience.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're moving on to career.
Yes.
All right, enough trauma for now. We're moving on to the next
happy stuff.
Chapter. So now we're moving on to careers. I know you do social media marketing, digital marketing.
Yes.
I don't know necessarily your title, and I don't think you know it either, because I feel like you do it all. But you are in the social media space.
Yes.
So can you tell me a little bit about your job description and how did you got into it, and give me the whole spiel.
Okay, so right now I go between saying I'm a marketing freelancer versus it's all pretty much the same, but essentially I help realtors market themselves on social media, and I do everything between content marketing, email marketing, paid ads, all that stuff. And it's been really fun. I feel like it's something I got into shortly after. I have a whole story, but we'll save that for an upcoming episode.
Bet on yourself episode.
But I kind of do a little bit of other stuff in between. I'm a writer.
She's a published writer. Would you consider yourself a published writer? Is that what it is? I mean, you publish a book.
I guess, yeah.
Put some respect on your
Please.
name.
I'm shy.
Girl, stop. You are a what?
I'm a publisher.
Girl, get on my closer, bitch. Stop playing. You are a what?
I'm a writer.
No, you're a published.
I'm a published writer. I'm a published writer.
No, I want you to say it confidently.
Okay. I'm a published writer.
Yes.
Yeah, so I wrote a book 2 years ago and I did a whole, I guess, campaign about it. I just basically pitched to a few of my favorite influencers and I offered them, hey, like, I'm sending this out. If you want, if you're interested, if you post about it, cool. If not, totally cool. And pretty much all of them did. And I was just like blown away by all the love and support it got. And it ended up on Business Insider.
Wow.
I got a lot of traction. And yeah, that's a big part of my story as well.
You're also cited?
I was like, it felt like unreal.
Oh my gosh.
Like it was really
that's great. That's an accomplishment.
Yeah, no,
you're closer to a check mark on your Instagram.
I am working on that. That's something I can bet
because if Insider that they publish like an article, right?
Yeah, they published an article about my book, but that is something I'm working on is acknowledging my wins because I feel like I tend to be like, oh, it's
don't belittle yourself.
Yeah, I tend to belittle myself, and I'm working on that.
Yes,
I am. But yeah, that's basically part of my story. That's part of my career, I guess.
How did you get there? Did you go to college?
I'll start from the beginning. So I went to college I switched my majors quite a bit actually. So I started with psychology because favorite subject ever. I could study for hours and never get bored. That was what I went to college for. However, I realized that is a lot more school than because I was on my own since I was 19.
Oh, okay.
So I was like literally on my own. I was thrown with the wolves. I was living paycheck to paycheck. I was working.
Okay, so can we talk about that?
Yeah. Yes.
Why were you on your own?
My parents moved from Dallas to Seattle when I was like 19. They moved from Dallas to Seattle. So I quite literally was completely alone. It wasn't a season where they could just be like, oh, here's some money for groceries, here's some money for gas, here's some money for rent. I was literally doing it all on my own, and also I felt like a bird. I never asked. I felt like a bird if I did. I'm sure if I would have asked, it would have helped. But now I'm like, I could probably say I put myself through college, and not once did my parents pay for a tank of gas or a thing of groceries.
Wow.
And that really built my character because I felt like I learned what it was like to work, like really work, like
struggle.
Yeah, struggle. Like I remember, like even sometimes my boyfriend would help me. Like,
but he was also young too.
He was also young.
Yeah, we're both trying to figure things out.
Yeah, he was also like he was making even less than me. Honestly, he would be like so shocked by me. He'd be like, "You literally went." Like, you have $30 of worth of groceries for a whole week. And I was like, yeah. Like, that's how...
You really struggled.
That's what I did.
I feel like you really... You need to give yourself credit because you basically... Not that you were thrown out of your house, but it's almost like, all right, you're out, you're 19, go figure it out because we're moving.
Right. No, for real.
You didn't want to ask for help either, so...
I didn't. Because I knew, like, it wasn't, like... that kind of time where they could easily help, so I didn't want to feel like a burden. But so that definitely was, I learned two things. One, you don't want to work a 9 to 5 for the rest of your life.
For you personally.
That wasn't something I wanted for myself.
Okay.
I learned that very quickly. Because like I said, I was working through college, so I knew this isn't something I want. Two, I learned, hey, life is hard. So I learned to kind of figure out what I wanted for the rest of my life at a very young age.
19.
Yeah, because if I wouldn't have had that, I would have gone through college and let's say my parents paid for everything. Let's say I got my rent paid, my college paid, all that stuff. I didn't have to worry about money. I would have gone through college, you know, doing whatever I wanted, which I'm sure I would have made beautiful memories and would have been great.
Right.
But I would have graduated. I wouldn't have the tools that I gained through those times of trial and just hardship of, you know, not having barely enough for anything, honestly, just enough to pay rent, pay groceries, and survive. Like everything in life, there's good and bad. Like the bad is that I didn't have college memories really. I never really went out with friends. I never really had that college experience because I couldn't afford it. I quite literally didn't have the time and I didn't have the money to have that. But the good thing is that, like I said, like it just gave me a lot of strength and growth and tools that right off the bat of college, you know, I was able to accelerate my career in ways I wouldn't have been able to if I didn't have that experience. So I don't regret anything, and I'm not like, you know, I'm not sitting here like boo, like no, I'm
no, because now you can afford trips to Paris. You can afford going to Iceland. You are just living your best life.
So if you're someone that's going through a hard time, whether it's financially or emotionally or whatever it may be, just know that it gets better and that makes you stronger. And when you do enter a season in your life that's good and healthy and flourishing, you're gonna look back and be like, yeah, that was hard, but if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here now. So,
period. I love that.
So, yeah,
that's a good advice, and that's encouraging for somebody that doesn't have the privilege to have parents to support them. Yeah. Even if the parents wanted to, it gets better. Yes. And you're a testimony that hard work truly does pay off.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm happy about that. Okay, so with that said, with all of your success now, with you being a published writer, what limited beliefs did you have to get over to advance in your career?
Other people's judgment, for sure. I wanted to please other people. I wanted to fit in. The number one limiting belief that I had to get over was caring what people thought of me. That was what was stopping me from everything. Even now.
It's like an endless journey, what you say?
It's definitely something that I'm always working on. If I ever question, let's say like I want to do something, whatever it is, and I'm like, oh wait, what are other people going to think of that? I'm like, why does it matter? Why are you putting other people's opinions first before your happiness, before whatever it is that you want to do? So that's definitely something that I had to get over. The fear of looking stupid or the fear of failing. Which also coincides with caring what other people think, because if no one knows you failed, then it's not a punch in the ego, basically. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
ooh, if people that's wisdom right there.
If people know you failed, then it's like embarrassing. But if no one knows you failed, it's like not as harsh. And I think
how can you build character if you don't sometimes get punched in the ego? How can you be successful in general if you don't ever get punched on the ego and you always protect yourself? Yeah. How are you going to be able to see success?
Yeah, exactly. You really have to be ruthless. Like, you really have to just not care what people think. Like, like you're gonna look stupid until you look successful, honestly. Like, it's just...
And it's okay to look stupid.
Yeah.
Do you have any cringy TikToks videos?
Oh my gosh. And look at you now.
Period. Like, I still get punched in the ego now and then.
You just have to do it. Whatever it is that you're thinking about, you just have to do it and stop being so worried about what people think or looking stupid. That is the number one limiting belief that was stopping me for such a long time.
Wow, I love that. I really love that.
I'm still overcoming it though, but yeah.
So I know we're gonna go more in depth on how you betted on yourself in the next episode, but can you give me a little bit of preview in terms of like when you bet on yourself?
I think more than anything, just not feeling like I was meeting my full potential. Feeling like I was just a robot going through the motions because it's what I felt like I had to do, because I had to pay rent and I had to, I don't know, save for retirement and like all that stuff, which trust me is very important. But at the end of the day, very similar to what you said, on your episode was that when I get older and I look back, what am I going to think about my decisions? Am I going to look back and be like, oh yeah, I'm glad I did that? Or am I going to look back and be like, I wish I did something different? I just always want to fulfill my purpose and whatever that looks like. For some people, it may be completely different. And for me, I just knew it wasn't where I was at, and I just knew I had to do something different.
I know you knew it wasn't where you wanted to be, but can we talk about how when you bet on yourself, not everything is like, oh, I just knew it wasn't meant to, like, not everything is cupcakes and butterflies.
Oh
like,
my
shit needs to
gosh.
go down in order to know that you want to bet on yourself.
Oh my gosh. Trust me, I will go in depth because I have quite the story on that, but I will say
Give us a little
that
bit of a
that
spoiler.
that everything went wrong. Like everything that could have
Everything
possibly
went
gone
wrong.
wrong went wrong.
But you were already unhappy.
Yeah, I was already unhappy. But when I was starting to question, do I stay or do I go? That's when the universe was like,
bitch, you need to get the fuck out.
You need to go.
You need to. Bitch, you need to go. You know that TikTok?
No, I don't. But
No, there's a TikTok. You know what I'm talking about? You need to go.
Truly, that's what it was like. I was just getting like beat up, like left and right. Like, I was already down. I just kept getting
life had already thrown a couple of punches, but like
jab.
this season it was like bah, 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 bah.
I don't know where I heard this. Might have been my dad. When something amazing is about to happen, it's gonna feel like the universe is telling you
Before it shines, it rains.
Yes, it's almost like the universe is testing you. Like, how bad do you really want it? And that's why when we started the podcast and everything was going wrong, I was like, I just know that's a good sign. Because I swear to you, every time something like shit hits the ceiling, shit hits the fan, like something good happens. It never fails. Like it might not obviously happen the next day, obviously, but something good is around the corner. Because like when I tell you, like I was being tested.
That way.
I was really being tested.
I just be mad. I just be mad and stay mad. And think the world is against me.
I used to think that too. I used to be like, oh, okay, it must not be meant to be. But I think that's the test. Like, how bad do you want it? Are you just gonna like sit back and be like, all right, it's not meant to be? Or are you gonna be like, no, I really want this, so I'm gonna like keep going after it.
This is some good advice that I'm gonna take because I tend to have a victim perspective sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, things are not going our way. Like, I'm so frustrated. I'm done. But I love what your dad said.
Yeah, it really changed my perspective too. Because I used to honestly be like that. If you want something and it's not going your way, it's like, okay, well, how did you expect it to be easy? What did you expect it to fall in your lap? Like, if you're not watching the video, you really should because Monica's crazy.
Did you really expect it to be easy? Duh. No, you're fucking right.
It's a real trick for me. Like for
seriously.
me, I need that sometimes. I need to remember that because I'm like, ugh, when things start getting hard, I'm like, damn it.
Okay, so let me ask you, what's your favorite part about your job and the hardest part about your job?
Okay, I'll start with the hardest part first. If you're a business owner, you will get this, and I feel like you will get this too, since brands are basically your clients.
Yeah.
Sometimes you kind of feel like you have multiple bosses.
Yeah.
Like instead of just having one boss, you have multiple bosses.
Yeah.
Like you have multiple people telling you what to do, when to do it, how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be very exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely the hardest part because I no longer have one person to report to. I have multiple. And don't get me wrong, that's an amazing problem. I'm glad that many people trust me with their business.
But they all think they're the main character.
Facts.
I know what you're saying. They only think that you're only working for them.
Yes, it's like they forget that you have other stuff to deal with and you also have life problems. Yeah, that's definitely the hardest part. The best part is the flexibility, the freedom, and doing something I actually really genuinely enjoy.
Yeah.
That's definitely the
pros
best
and
part.
cons in every job.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you have to pick your poison.
I do want to ask you a couple of questions that maybe can help anybody listening to this podcast. So tell me a little bit about your book and what inspired you to write this book and go for it?
I've always been a writer. So I remember I wrote my first well, I'm literally like as soon as I could write, for real. Like I remember I was probably like 5 years old. So it's always been a part of me. But I wrote this book because it was a pandemic and I honestly had a lot of time in my hands. So I had a lot of time to sit and think and reflect, and I think I wrote it within 6 months. I just felt really reflective is the best word to describe that season of my life because I was reflecting on what mattered, what I valued, and I just kind of put it all together. If you don't know the name of it, it's called The Power of You, and I named it that because I feel like sometimes we can be our worst enemy. And it was a season where I was really, like we talked about, like betting on myself and challenging myself and going through a lot of obstacles to get what I wanted, basically.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I was the only thing that was stopping me was myself. And I split into segments that starts with Enjoy Today, which is talking about how, I mean, quite frankly, we're not entitled to another day. I mean,
Wow.
life changes really fast. So just staying present, being thankful for what you have, and being grateful for another day. That's been the root of my happiness, just being grateful for just like literally daily life. And then it goes into loving yourself, which is something that I feel like is honestly always a work in progress. But sometimes we just need a little bit of reminder to just have empathy, grace, and love for ourselves, regardless of what we've done or what we're going through. And what you look like, because I know sometimes that's a big part of it. Like I feel like sometimes we can be our worst, like I said, our worst enemy. And then it goes into faith, which is a big part of my life, whether it's the universe or God or whatever you want to believe in. I feel like that's honestly you should give it a try.
Yeah.
You should give it a try because it's life changing in the best way.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna like go into everything, but yeah, that's essentially just like little bits and pieces of the book and what inspired me to write it. And yeah, I'm really happy it turned out the way it did because even if it helps one person, it's all worth it. Because those little messages that I still get is like, oh, I read this every morning. I'm really thankful it got out there and it reached the people that it did, and it continues to. So yeah.
Honest, and this is what I mean when I'm so thankful and grateful to have you as a friend because you are such an inspiration.
I love you,
And the way you talk and the way you carry yourself, it just shows how much you are thankful for life. And no, it's just so it's so refreshing to see.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I don't come across a lot of women like you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lot of women that are just thankful to be here. And the way you're able to fully express yourself in the most peaceful and calming way, that is just honestly a gift that you have. And I'm so happy that you wrote a book because you're able to almost gift people a little piece of your calmness and peacefulness.
Oh my gosh. That's honestly one of the best compliments I could ever ask because it's funny because inside I'm like an anxious being, but I think it's so funny how sometimes people perceive me as chill. So,
but you're like dying inside.
Honestly, facts.
Because I know what you're saying.
A constant work in progress. It's all it is. Like,
yeah.
I might be like really anxious, and I'm still like, I still have like intrusive thoughts. Like, I still have like all that stuff, but it's just like trying to combat it and like trying to like overcome it. I think.
I feel like that's why we're very much alike in that way that we are able to show people perceive us a different way that our brain perceives us because you are perceived like a peaceful person, grateful, all these nice words, right? But you actually are very anxious inside, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm able to show confidence. I'm able to show all these traits, but bitch, I'm dying too. Inside. Sorry, am I too loud? But do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm able to show confidence and all of that, but like I also struggle with anxiety.
Yeah.
Inside.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's something I'm learning from you is confidence. I literally put in my vision board. And that's something that inspires me from you because like you said, like you come off like very like empowered and confident, and I love that. It's contagious. Like I love that,
Right.
and that's something I'm working on because I'm the complete opposite. I'm like, I'm like, I'm complete opposite. So that's something I'm definitely working on this year, and it's literally on my vision board because it's something I need to bet on myself on.
Yeah.
So
I think the same with you. I feel like you bring this type of like peace into my life. Everything's okay. We're just getting better. Like we're done. Like the mics are not working. And you're just like, it's okay. We're just learning. And I'm over here like I'm shaking. Like where's my coffee? I'm dying. And then there's you.
It's just all a balance.
Okay, so let's end this episode with just one more advice. Just like an advice for entrepreneurs.
Yes.
What's your favorite productivity hack?
Ooh, okay. So mine is I used to make to-do lists that look like Christmas lists. Like literally I was like every day I'd be so ambitious, I'd be like and then I'd beat myself up about it. I'd be like, oh, I didn't do this and I didn't do that, like I'm such a loser.
Oh my god, wait, that's me right now.
No.
Please give me an advice.
Now what I do is I pick 3 to 5 things, like main things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what do I absolutely need to get done today? Like, if I don't get anything else done, what are the 3 to 5 things that I will be so happy and so relieved that I get done today? And just focus on that.
So question, do you list the 5 things you want as a priority and then list other things that you need to get done? Or do you only like write only 5 things?
You're like, because I can't do that. No,
I'm wondering. How does this work?
Like, I'm just curious.
Because I have a whole, like, you should, and I've heard that. They say to only list 6 things.
Really?
Or 5.
Yeah.
5 to 6.
Mm.
I've heard that before. Only list 5 to 6 things on your to-do list, and that's it.
Yeah. No, I actually do the first one that you said. Wait. Yeah. So I do my top 3 to 5, depending on the day. And then I list everything else out.
On the same list, or do you put it on another list?
No, the same one. So I do like musts or like have tos or something, and then want tos or something like that. Whatever you feel like doing, and then you do your top 3, and then everything else you do at the bottom. That way you're hyper focused on those 3, and everything else is just a plus. Like
okay, I'm gonna have to redo that. I'm gonna have to do that.
I used to always do those long lists, and I used to get so mad at myself. So that's like my biggest advice.
But it's important to prioritize the things that you need to get done.
Mm-hmm.
Even if the things you don't want to get done are,
yeah,
you just have to get them done.
Then you get scattered brain.
It's almost like a list of like what's gonna, like, I think that's gonna be my new way of phrasing my to-do list. The top things that are gonna make me happy.
Yes.
And then what I need, like,
anything else.
And when I mean happy, like, you need to submit this to get paid because it's going to make you happy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But you also need to work out because it's going to make you happy. You might not want to work out, but it's going to make you happy.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great advice. But yeah, this wraps up our interview. Yeah. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and being yourself. I think this was amazing. I hope you guys got to know us a little better.
Yes.
We're excited to take you in this journey. Next episode will be more about how we got into our careers.
Yes. That was going to be so good.
Yeah.
We have such good stories.
And advice.
Yeah.
For me, the next episode is going to be more so spilling the tea in terms of what you should do. Like how to manifest.
I'm excited.
Yeah. What about so you? Good. What kind of tea are you going to give the next episode?
Overcoming limiting beliefs, like how to combat them, because we all have them and we all deal with them honestly daily. Because that's what part of bettering yourself is, overcoming those limiting beliefs. Yeah. So I definitely want to give some advice.
You know how to do that. You know how to get kind of.
I'm working on it.
But it's been working. I mean, yeah. All right, thank you so much for joining us.
I love y'all. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Love you guys. Thank you for hanging out. I know if you stay here, I'm gonna call you a chismosa and a chismoso because I know you wanted to hear the tea and you wanted to know everything about Leslie Diana. I'm still learning how to just say Diana.
You can call me whatever you want.
I want to call you those two names. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, and yeah, see you guys in the next.
See you in the next episode.
See you. I don't know.
See you because we're but we're not listening.
All right.
So catch you on the next episode.
Catch you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.